Hello. I want to start this video by telling you that I'm not going to do this RDU rant that often and that the main segment of my YouTube channel is going to be RDU's analysis. That being said, I still want to do the RDU rant once in a while with the purpose of just giving feedback and just with the purpose of making the game better or making tournaments better, just trying to solve the specific issue. I don't want to fire shots like a mad, salty player and whatnot. And I just want to give some feedback and I want to give my perspective on particular issues. Okay, let's get started. Let me tell you the most two annoying things when I play tournaments. First of all, when tournaments change their formats in the middle of the tournament, at the end of the tournament, or after the qualification period of a tournament, which is probably like the worst case scenario. I really don't like this idea, just from a philosophical or ethical point of view. Let's assume, just for the sake of an argument, that we do a tournament, 64 people, conquest, top 8 changes to last hero standing. How do you know that the best 8, the arguably best 8 conquest players, the people that make top 8 in the conquest tournament, are also really great in last hero standing? Like, they're different formats, and maybe the best last hero standing player loses round 1 while having to play conquest, but to win the whole tournament while playing last hero standing. But that's something that very rarely happens. It happened very few times. The most common issue is like changing from best of 3 to best of 5, best of 5 to best of 7, which is still like different. You play best of 3 Hearthstone and then you change to best of 5. It's totally different. It's like a super big difference between BO3 and BO5, because with in BO3, within BO3, you want to just have the most solid 2 decks against the best and the most popular 2 decks. And for example, if you know that Shaman and Druid are really good, it's kind of like possible to do a lineup that is good against one of those or targets both. But if you have to bring a third deck, then things change, and you'd rather have a more general, more broad lineup, because it's harder to pinpoint 1 or 2 classes that you can just 2-0 in the Beast of 3. Same from BO5 to BO7. It's a super big difference from from BO5 to BO7. In BO5, you can maybe target 1 class, very rarely, harder than in best of 3, but in best of 7 it's just not possible to target any class at all. And that's why you never see strategies of targeting 1 class working in best of 7. We saw Frozen trying in the America's Last Call, but it didn't quite work, because it's super hard to 4-0 one of the classes. That strategy was madness. But this brings me to the first example, ACT. The ACT Tour plays its preliminaries in Conquest best of 5, 4 decks 1 ban, and then changes to championships to best of 7. How do you know that you get the best, arguably best in that day with a specific lineup, you know what I mean, conquest players in best of 5, and you make them play best of 7. How do you know that they're gonna perform well in best of 7? How do you know that one of the people that lost in best of 5 wouldn't win in best of 7? You don't. It's just illogical to change the format. I really have to give a shout out to DreamHack for always keeping the format the same way, and they probably have the most quality open tournament circuit out there. I really like the consistency there. The second issue, and the main issue for why I made this video, and the main issue that inspired this video, is also a more often encountered issue. Tournaments making players resubmit the decks for the next day, the next stage, or whatever of the tournament. I think this is absolute... I cannot find a word. I don't want to insult anybody, but it's just so bad for the players. It's so bad. It's even bad for the viewers in some situations. I will explain why I think that is a bit later in the video. First of all, let me give you an example of when that last happened to me. It was not last Insomnia, it was 2 Insomnias ago when this thing happened. We played Swiss, and then the people that qualified for the Swiss had the option to resubmit the decks for the next day. Why is that bad? First of all, within the Insomnia tournament, it was bad because the Swiss round finished at 1 AM, so we also had to sleep. We had to be there at 10 AM, so Hearthstone players usually sleep a lot, like 10-12 hours on average. I can make a video on this topic some other time, but already having 9 hours to sleep, and you're not gonna like you have to go to the hotel, you have to go from to the hotel again, from the hotel to the venue again, sorry, next morning. So it's not like you sleep 9 hours, you don't sleep at the venue. You have to go from venue to hotel, and then shower, whatever, and then go to sleep, and then like wake up, and then like shower, whatever, breakfast, and then go to the venue. So that's also like some hours lost from the sleeping time. And when the players were presented with the fact that they can resubmit decks, they have two options. They either sleep and have the chance of being exploited by their opponents, because we also knew the groups, or you could waste 2 more hours to prepare against opponents that probably choose to sleep rather than playing the tournament. And all this leads to like a massive clown fiesta, where some people have better lineups but are tired. Some people are a bit more rested but still very tired, because we had very little time to sleep because the Swiss was delayed for like 2 hours because of internet issues. And it's just like a cluster fuck that should just be avoided. Now, again, let's analyze this from an ethical point of view. I really like to use the word ethical. Probably is not appropriate. Maybe you can like let me know in the comments down below like what word should I use for this situation. But let's say you just break the meta, bring the best lineup to a tournament. Yes, you get rewarded, you qualify to the next stage, but if the next stage requires you to like, it requires the players to resubmit or give them the option to resubmit, you are in a situation where, let's say your direct opponent has like a very bad lineup against you. You are almost sure that he's gonna like change his lineup and that he's gonna counter yours. When you made your lineup and when you put the thoughts into the strategy, you made your lineup with the thought of just reading the whole meta and countering the meta that you read. Like, this is the meta that you read. And then the guy is gonna just change to an off meta lineup to beat you, because if he doesn't, he loses, or he's very unfavored to win. If he's very smart, he's gonna just change to an off meta lineup and beat you, and then ideally to an off meta lineup that also like shouldn't lose instantly to the other players. But you still have to change according to your first opponent, because if you lose the first opponent, you're out, right? So then you kind of prepared just for half of the stage. Like, this would like force you as a player to prepare 2 lineups, to have 2 backup lineups. Like, how would the preparation work? You have to prepare a lineup and then prepare a lineup that counters the lineup that counters your first prepared lineup in the case that you actually read the meta correctly and you break it. It's just impossible. No Hearthstone player is gonna do that. Also, like, even the idea of requiring players to like think of multiple lineups is bad, because you want to see the players just practicing one lineup, and when they come to the tournament they just have like a very practiced strategy that they know perfectly how to play, or close to perfection. Then you can see like a very good show as a spectator. I mean, it's also pretty funny when they play something that they cannot play and they play them badly, but yeah, you can see that on streams on ladder all the time. When you watch tournaments, I think as a viewer you should want very good level of play, or close to very good level of play. So it de-incentivizes you from bringing like a lineup that breaks the meta, and maybe it will give the idea to some people to bring a lineup that is just meta and then get lucky and qualify, and then when they qualify they can just take the lineup that breaks the meta and use it. It's just illogical, and it shouldn't be an issue that Hearthstone players have. Now, let me bring you to the point that made me start this video. I was told by some players participating in Blizzcon that 2 bad things are going to happen. First of all, Blizzcon is going to like make the players, or give them the chance to resubmit decks after the group stage. They get the time. They don't have the insomnia situation where they have to submit overnight after they play. They get the time to like think it in advance, but I still don't think it's a good idea. First of all, also like the second thing, the first submission for the group stages is in like 3 days. First of all, like, is this fair for BB Gangan, who won the NA last call, the Americas last call? Is it fair for BB Gangan? He has 3 days to possibly change his lineup. If he doesn't change it, which is like the most likely situation, then he can get abused by the people in his group if the groups are released beforehand. I don't know that, but they probably know that if he's gonna be seeded or not, and they probably can make like a guesstimation of some players that they cannot face. Like, you know that you cannot face a player from your region, you know, like that, and you can pinpoint it down to like your group being 3 out of, let's say, 8 or 9 players, and everyone who's gonna have BB Gangan, for example, or even the people from the Europe or APAC last calls, they can just see that these players are most likely to keep their lineups because they don't have that much time to change, which I don't think is very healthy. And even for the players that qualified like some months ago, they were announced like today or yesterday by email that they have 3 days to submit the lineups. So maybe they thought that they have like 2 weeks and they accounted for having 2 weeks, and then they were announced, hey, you have to submit in 3 days. So this brings me to the issue why I also think it's bad for the viewers. I think that the wacky anti-meta or countering meta lineup requires more than 3 days to submit, especially in 5-dex formats. Hoy told me that for the last call, if he had more than 3 days or 4 days, what we had for last call, to like actually test the decks in the new meta after the nerfs, maybe he would have come with like a priest lineup and something like that. And he didn't have enough time to test, so he just went for the boring lineup. As you can probably see if you have access to the Google document, Hoy's decks are named backup lineup 1, backup lineup 2, backup lineup 3, and so on, because he used the backup lineup, he used the boring lineup. And if he had more days, he would have come with like a interesting for the viewers lineup. But if tournaments don't offer you the luxury of having like at least 1 week to like prepare for them, maybe you cannot come up with it. For the Euroblast call, it was a different situation because we knew about the nerfs, so we still had like 1 week in theory, but in real play, once the nerfs hit, we only had like 2 days or 3 days of like practicing the lineup. So what all the players I think did was like think of something, and then when the patch hit, we applied what we've thought and we nailed down the 5 decks that we want to bring. And Hoy didn't have enough time. I saw him like online always battling a friend in that 2 days, but that was still not enough to like convince him of that wacky lineup being better than his backup boring lineup. That's why I think it's also bad for the audience. They will see less interesting things. And I really think that for the Blizzcon stages, we're gonna see some very rushed deck building. I think we're gonna see way better deck building in the top 8, and I don't really like that. I think that the best would be just a longer deadline and just not letting players change the decks. This brings me to the ethical point that I brought up earlier. Like, if you have, let's say you break the meta for BlizzCon, you read what the other players are going to bring, you predict it, you come up with like an insane lineup, which is very hard in Conquest, but like in last year's setting it would be way easier to break the meta because you get more rewarded for like a deck being good than in Conquest. Breaking the meta in Conquest is close to impossible, but let's say somebody breaks the meta in Conquest. He will not get rewarded. Like, the other players are either gonna like change their decks if they're in a spot where they line up unfavored, and this creates just a clown fiesta. Like, if I have a lineup that is very good against another player and I face him after getting out of the groups, then he has like a 70% chance to change his lineup. And what should I do? Should I change my lineup? Should I change the lineup that was successful already, just on the 70% that he's going to change it to, just to not get countered? Also, you might have some crazy people that get to top 8 and just make their whole lineup just to beat their first opponent. And then it's gonna be like very wacky because they build their lineup just for the first opponent, and then in the semifinals you're gonna see some people that just wanted to get to the semifinals, because that's gonna be the strategy. You get top 8, you want to be the first guy, you want to at least play the semifinals. And I think it was just better to like let the players submit the decks with the mentality of just winning the whole thing. Another thing is that during the middle of the tournament, such as Blizzcon, you don't want to like think of lineups. You just want to like relax when you don't play, and when you play you want to only think of the game. You don't want to like think of like lineups and how to change your lineup, how to improve your lineup. You don't want to have that many things on your head while you're playing. It will make you play worse. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think it's healthy for the players. I can see some reasons for why, from the organization point of view, it's better to like get the decks fast. For example, they can release them to the social media and stuff faster. But hurting the players just to get the decks out faster, I don't think is like a good thing to do, especially for the biggest tournament of the year. So I'm kind of disappointed by this decision. I hope that if there's still time they will change it, but I doubt it. And let's see how the things play out, and let's see if I was right or if I was wrong. Tell me what you think, and see you next time.